Hello, my name is Delaney, and I am a former patient of Elevated Healing Treatment Centers. So happy to be able to provide this testimonial of my treatment there. So, to start, it was about a year ago, and I met with a therapist and, shared how I was feeling. And they said to me, I think we can do really great work. We would really like to support you, but I think you need more treatment than we can provide you. And I recommend IOP, which I had never heard of before. So I went on to psychology.com and used my insurance to search where I had any options available. And I was able to find Elevated Healing Treatment Center. And what I remember was walking into the center for my intake call or my intake meeting with Valerie and walking in through the doors and just immediately starting crying during my tour because you really do have this sense of support. You're walking into healing, essentially, not to sound a little cheesy, but Valerie was so incredible on my intake day. The staff there is so welcoming. Um, you know, even though I was crying, I felt so supported. Um, and they didn't putz around. They really kind of walked through what the program would look like. And I jumped in right away. And as someone who had never done group therapy before, I felt that the staff really created an environment where I felt safe to share my feelings, my thoughts, and could really connect with the other patients at Elevated Healing. And I think some personal growth I saw was not only in those group sessions, but on my one-on-ones with Valerie, who was able to introduce me to EMDR and kind of really think through those deeper feelings that, maybe don't feel the best. And a lot of changing those thought patterns around, what are bad feelings versus like what are good feelings, which we, learn is not necessarily a thing. There are feelings and what comes along with those and how do we think about those. So invaluable. Valerie was truly an anchor in my healing. And also art therapy was just a point where you could have gone through everything in the session and know that sitting there creating something and maybe it's not the most beautiful thing you've ever created, but how do you value yourself and your output? And I think most importantly, elevated healing kind of changed how do I talk to myself? How do I refer to myself? How do I think about um, my life, my relationships? And ultimately, I was going through a lot of change and I was not managing that properly. And I think what the team at Elevating Healing was able to give me was the tools to really put language to these feelings I didn't know I was having, and tools for managing my anxiety and tools for managing my depression. And overall, just you're never fully healed. It's always going to be something you're working on. But I feel like when I left, I had everything I needed to keep working on those things. So Elevated Healing could not recommend more. And I miss the team.